Welcome to our circle. This is a once a month gathering that we do, and again, I'm very blessed to have Isla joining us. She's my mentor, who's become a friend now. I look up to her so much, and we want to welcome you to joining our circle. Today we were actually going to talk about how how should I put this? The war in Ukraine. That's what triggered it for me. I actually have someone I know that's fleeing from Ukraine with their pet cat, and it's been very stressful, obviously, for both animals and humans. And my friend's sister from Ecuador actually texted me and said, like, the cat hasn't peed or pooped since Thursday, and they've been on the road since then. What could they do to help, stimulate the bowels and stuff? And I just, the cat is sensing all that fear and literal life and death situation where basically it's two young ladies in a tiny little car with two pet cats on the road from Kiev trying to get to Poland. And they haven't reached it yet because there's been a lot of traffic jam. Um, you know, and you know, we were trying to figure out, like, how could we help them, do a makeshift litter box, because they can't stop by like a 24-hour like shopping mall and buy a litter box, because they didn't think about getting a litter box. They literally put the cat in a carrier or in a haversack, and they just went into the car and they drove off with not a lot of space to carry a lot of stuff. And I was talking to Isla about this. I said, like, can we, at the end of this session, can we do a prayer and meditation for Ukraine, for both humans and the animals there? But also, we're talking about how can we help our animals deal with um, the kind of stress, you know, um, during a situation like that, both say in a practical way and but also in a energetic way, you know. Um, I'm just very grateful that I live in Singapore and we don't have war, you know, and it makes my life, like, even though, like, we have so much usual everyday grind, work grind, and people nonsense. But when I think about what's going on in Ukraine, I just feel very, very grateful and very blessed. And I'm very thankful that at least my animals are safe. I can use the loo. I can have fresh water, clean water. So this has been weighing on my mind, and I thought, maybe we can um, do some energy work for our friends in Ukraine. But anyway, so Isla, over to you.
Thank you, thank you. Welcome everyone, and welcome Mela. Sorry again, apologies, I'm saying your name wrong, but just welcome you into the space. Yeah. Such a heartfelt time, right? A real, even more intense. Yeah, even more intense. Kind of when we went to the pandemic, and we kind of were all thrown into this fear, which we felt as energy beings, right? Is just vibration. So many of us kind of felt the collective feeling, the collective panic, where we kind of hit adrenal fatigue, and it's almost like a more like an even intensified carrying of that. And it feels right to, I'm really not, really not an authority on war and holding and what to do. So I'm just, yeah, going to be sharing, connecting from my heart, sharing, connecting from what I know as the vibrational work that I do, the vibrational being that I am. And I'm sure you all know, and this is really not in a religious way, but just from the old indigenous ancient connection of the land, of the power of prayer. The power of prayer is so strong. The power of so many of us feel so helpless right now, of like, I'm just a civilian that's living in a modern day world. Like, I just feel so helpless, so powerless. What can I do? But the reality is, we are so powerful. We are a vibration in the cosmos. So just if we think about, as a physical being, we have cells that connect to each other to make us physical whole. unstoppable, and we are just a cell within the cosmos. So we are this powerful vibration, this powerful resource, this powerful tool that through prayer, through blessings, through intention, through focus, we can create that vibration, or we should be existing from that place of that vibration of love and light. And I don't mean it in an airy fairy like love and light, man. I mean this deep, serious, old, ancient way of being with the land, of being with ourselves, of being in a tribe, being in a community, where it is understanding, it's compassion, even it's unconditional love. Even if someone's sharing from the heart and they're sharing and we're hearing something that we don't like, it still is honouring what that person is sharing from their perspective. And so I kind of really want to start of we may not be for people in this space, but we may be being thrown into hatred, judgment, anger, sadness, sorrow, stress, and all these things that we can feel if we're just like, wow, my vessel, my physical vessel, my bridge is a connector, wants to cry right now for the holding of those people that are at war, that are suffering. Then release that. That's important to feel and honour and release, but also at the same time still holding that inner light and that inner love, which has the potential to create so much power, has the potential to create so much strength. Almost like in the olden days with the beacons, right, where they would like light a flame and they would place it on their little tower, and that would kind of travel around the lands to go, okay, I'm letting you know that we're safe, or I'm letting you know that I'm lighting this beacon to let you know like an intruder is coming, or there's danger, or whatever it may be. It's like we get to be beacons of light, get to be beacons of love, and if only we could see it right, we are this network as a vibration. And so if we focus our efforts on just holding of that love and that light, that is a vibration that will send out and reach the collective, which has really strong power. And as I'm sure that we all are, I'm not in the military, I'm not anything, I'm just a human having an experience, but how can I do good? And so we can donate, we can support, we can bring people in, we can feed, we can clothe, we can water, but from that power of oneness, that power of vibration, how can I do good? And I know if I sit in a powerful way, if I come into my medicine room and I dedicate an hour of my day, I dedicate 2 hours of my day, I dedicate 3 hours of my evening into that strong focus of love and light and intention and power, I know I'm just a vibration. That's all that I am. I'm just existing. And so just like electricity, just like when you make a connection, that is being sent out. So I want to share with that, because that's how powerful we are as kind of civilians. We do have really, really strong power. And then how we tap that into for humans and their animals, whether people in Ukraine and other war-torn zones that maybe are not going to be out on the media, and animals and humans that are staying in their countries, choosing to do so, humans that are taking their animals to flee, to go elsewhere. What can we do? How we can understand how to support them? And so again, for me, I always go back to, well, I'm a vibration. Like, I'm in a physical body, but I still have the power to control my vibration through the thoughts that I have, through the words that I speak, through my actions. So again, power in prayer, and I really mean, like, I take no offense if anybody is religious. I'm not, so I don't mean power in prayer in terms of a particular religion. Just the prayer is a blessing. The prayer is this deep kind of oneness of holding, and seeing us kind of light that way, so we kind of sit in circle as a collective. And sending through the power of, again, then intention. So this is a really beautiful thing we can do is vibration. So it's something that I do on a really simple level when, if one of my own animals needs to, for example, go to the vets, if I'm working with a client where they're just really worried, like my animal has an operation, we can focus on just a real nice grounding exercise. So even what we can do is we can see Ukraine as a country, we can see parts of Ukraine, we can even like look at pictures, or even like the center of Ukraine, just I would do as a reflection of the center of the veterinary practice. See the middle of a building, the middle of a place, and send it love, light, send it like an energy cord. So it's almost like I see an energy cord come up from the ground, and that kind of going into earth, I then see like all the people that are there, all the animals that are there, sending some grounding energy, some stability, some some safety, reassurance, because it really is so out of our ability to control, right? Our ability to like, what actually can we do? And then doing the same thing for everything. So people that are traveling, people that are stuck in traffic jams. It reminds me of like, even with Amber said, of like, God, I'm just so grateful that like I'm in a warm apartment, that I have food in my cupboards, that my animals are safe, that I can go to the toilet, that I can have a shower. When we're doing all of these things, when we're cleaning our teeth, when we're eating, even when we're feeding our animals, right? It's like, wow, as I feed my animal right now, as I feed myself, I'm actually eating also for the people of Ukraine. I'm also eating not just Ukraine, right? We know there are Russian innocents as well. And also, as I'm feeding my dog, I'm feeding my cat, I'm feeding my horse, whatever animal it is. And as I feed my animal, I'm also feeding for those animals elsewhere. And so there's something really powerful with this. So I did my last vision quest, what I did. So in a vision quest, if you can, it's best to fast. So you're not eating and it was for 5 nights and 6 days. And so what I did was just set up with my husband and my mum and my dad and my best friend, that I asked them to eat for me. So there was times when I was just like, whoa, like, oh, okay, I'm really having a hunger pang now. I'm really kind of wanting that food. I remembered that I'm like, hang on, but I can receive that food, because if everything's energy and if other people are eating, then I know they're also eating for me. So it kind of brought great strength. And so it's the same thing in these ways of where we feel helpless, like how can we do more? Be conscious in every way, because of course we know the power of thought, the power of words, the power of our actions. So as we are eating for ourselves, it's like with every mouthful, I'm eating for every person right now that has low supply of food, hasn't got any food. As I feed my dogs, or as I cats, horses, whatever, or as me and my animal are eating, with every mouthful, this is also being sent their way as well. And so for me, it's almost like, yeah, we're not going to jump on a consultation and go, hey, like, ground your animal right now, while you're stuck in a car traveling in a traffic jam, like leaving a war zone, do this quick practice. But we can do it for another. We can be that surrogate. And again, if we are familiar with energy testing, where we can do a surrogate energy testing, this is the beauty, is we kind of step out the way of seeing ourselves as physical, and just remember, God, but as a physical being, I'm like I'm just part of a cell. I'm just one cell of the giant organism of the cosmos. So I'm connected to everything. I'm connected to people in Ukraine, I'm connected to people in Russia, I'm connected to everyone that's here. And so as that connection, as that flow of energy, that movement, like our cells are suspended in water, then and are communicating and held, how can my actions be conscious? How can my words be conscious? How can my thoughts be conscious? So I'm sending these intentions, I'm sending these strong vibrations as I'm washing my face and cleaning my teeth. Wow, I'm having gratitude for that, but also I'm sending that to those that aren't fortunate enough right now to be able to have that wash, to be able to clean their teeth, to be able to get that food, to be able to get that rest. So it's the power of the collective, right? It's sometimes this work needs to be done at individual level, and sometimes this work needs to be done for ourselves as an individual, but at the same time we're holding it for the collective, and nothing is different, right? We're all fragmentations of that source, fragmentations of the oneness. So as we do it for ourselves, we're still doing it for all the animals, whether people are traveling with their guinea pigs and their hamsters, and the lands, not just the humans and the animals that are in Ukraine that are losing their lives. It's also the natural environments and natural elements, right? They're also being destroyed, of the plants, the waters, the trees, the stones, holding in every way. And so right now, as part of my morning practice that I do, it's also just taking that time, again, as I do it for myself, I'm seeing myself as just like silhouettes of people, animals, and sending that over to Ukraine, sending that over to Russia, and also other places that are needed, as I say, other areas of war and war zones that maybe we just don't know about. Like Amrit and I were talking before, like and we both just held our hands up, like, I don't even watch the news, right? So I'm receiving information from maybe what someone is sharing with me, but I don't watch the news, I don't read newspapers. So I'm aware that there are other countries that are also in that place of poverty, where fleeing, they're suffering, they're being persecuted, as well as the animals as well. So it's this beautiful, it's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it? Isn't oxymoron the right word for this even? But almost like this beautiful wake up of, we're civilians, like what can we do? Like how can we do anything? As we do this work for ourselves, that's what I always go back to, and I did a post on that this morning actually, as we do this work on ourselves with intention, with power, that's what we send out as a vibration. When we do this work on ourselves, the reality is if we stopped that war, if we ended the war within, that each and every one of us held, for those of us that do, then, well, there would be no war without, because everything is a reflection, right? So as within, so without. So that's why now, as a collective, as just people like going by our life, learning, wanting better, understanding like what is fair, what is unfair, bringing out more and more love and compassion and unconditional love. Then when we do that for ourselves, then again, that's what we send out, and that's what we can send out to brothers and sisters of all relations, right? So brothers and sisters of all relations, that's just not humans, it's animals, it's plants, it's waters, it's stars, it's stones, it's fungi, it's soil, it's everything. Sending that to our brothers and sisters, and holding those again through prayer, and sending words of trust, of safety, of holding, and as best as we can getting information to those that are traveling with the animals, to keep speaking to the animals. It's they do talk back, just in very, very different ways than verbal, through our English language, or the language of the human in whatever country they live in, but by explaining. So even on very simple terms, on basic terms, is the only way that I can share. Is like, my dog hates going to the vets. She's not very well at the moment, so she had to go to the vets last week, and so I just shared with her, like, tomorrow, sweetheart, we're going to go to the vets, this is what's going to happen. I was like, the vet's going to take some blood, so he's going to have to hold your leg, and she was like that, oh, I don't want that. And I'm like, I know, sweetheart, I know you don't want that, but we kind of haven't got a choice because you're sick, so this is what we need to explore. So I know you don't want to do it, and I'm really honouring that share, but we haven't got a choice. But you know what? You're going to be safe. It's going to be super quick. You're going to be safe. And so it's not to say to an animal, this is what's going to happen. I've told you what's going to happen, so therefore be okay with it, because that's just like someone saying to me, Isla, we're going to go to a nightclub on Saturday, so because now that I've told you, be okay with it. I'm like, I don't want to go to a nightclub on Saturday. I'm not going to be okay with it. So it's, our animals should always be allowed to express what they're feeling, just like we should be allowed to express what we're feeling, but not from a place of judgment or anger or shame or blame. But if we do feel that, then look at those triggers, those reflections within, right? And so it's always that saying of, for me, like, people say to me, oh, my animal's behaving really badly, or my dog's being really naughty, or my dog's misbehaving. Like, your dog's not being naughty, your dog's just behaving. Your dog's not doing bad behaviour, it's just behaving right now. And so there's going to be this whole collective confusion of like, wow, this is where my human normally is, and also in my home, and they're feeling, they're going to be feeling not just the fear from their own humans, but, you know, if they're stuck in the underground, if they're travelling in, like Amra says, in this long traffic jam, so feeling the anger, the stress, the panic of everybody, they're going to be like a sponge. They're like in the core of it. And yeah, in those situations, if we can get a message out to their guardians of what they can do, just keep speaking to them, because they can't really do anything else. They're not going to be going to a nice warm hotel. They're not going to be able to guarantee, like, I'm going to feed you in half an hour, I'm going to feed you in 2 hours, we're going to get more food. But all we can do is just go, this is the situation. I love you, I'm holding you, you are safe, you can trust. It would be great, do you know, if you're able to go to the toilet, now is going to be a great time, but I'm really listening to you as well. So they understand, and I think it's almost like sometimes animals can panic more when we don't explain to them, because we assume, well, they're not going to understand anyway. So not only are they kind of absorbing our emotional states, which is going to be really intense right now for those people, but equally when we don't explain to them, it's almost, I liken it to, if we can remember a time when we were a child, when we were kind of starting to maybe get frustrated, having a tantrum, because it's like we are in an element of being able to be verbal but not be able maybe to express, or we're being told to not speak or whatever. But a time when we were a kid and we were just starting to maybe feel frightened, confused, frustrated, because like we just want to speak, but we just didn't understand what was happening. But then when it's explained to us, we're like, oh, oh, okay, that's cool. That makes sense. But it's almost like adults at a time, they equally with children just assume you're just a child, you're not going to understand. But as an energy being that we all are, like when we explain to children, again, even if they don't want it, or again, we sometimes make excuses, right? Of right, it's time to leave the park now because it's lunchtime, and the kid might be like, well, it's not lunchtime for me, I'm not hungry. Well, we're leaving the park because it's lunchtime. Whereas reality is it's a parent that wants to have lunch. So just be honest, like we need to leave the park now because I'm hungry and I want to have lunch. I know you're not hungry, but it's my lunchtime. So yeah, just speaking to the animals, explaining, being honest, so that they can express in their own ways. And sometimes when they understand more of what's happening, of like, guys, like we're literally fleeing from a war right now, so this is what a war is, this is what a war looks like. As crazy as it may sound, when we speak, again, it creates a vibration. When we are thinking, we can create images, we can see those images, we can send them to our animals. That might be enough for them to go, oh, so you're telling me we're going to be in this for a while. Okay, great. No, that's not a problem. I'll just stay quiet. Okay, I'll go to the toilet, because I was kind of holding on because I just assumed like at some point we're going to arrive somewhere, but you kind of now explained to me that we don't even know how that's going to be. So even just explaining, we can see these transformations come through.
Thanks, Isla. You know, it's when my girlfriend asked me how can we help her sister in the car, and internet connection was very, very bad. So she had to translate what I said to her in English into Spanish to type it up, and then wait for her sister to get internet reception wherever she was, and then it would go through, and then there will be a delayed response every time. And I was telling her, like, you just have to really try and get her to be as calm as possible, and to talk to the animals and explain to them what's going on, because the fear, they sense our fear, they can smell it. And I mean, like, I think being stuck in a car for almost a week now, I think, it's not very pleasant. So, it's just one of those things where when you were saying all that, and I was just thinking about it, and I was already like, you know, um, sending some energy thoughts to them as you were explaining, you know. I just I think I think it's sometimes easier for us because I'm not as evolved as Isla. Let me put it this way. Okay, I'm still a student. I'm still a little amoeba, and so I struggle with, the fear and the worry, and especially because my girlfriend, who's in Ecuador right now, and she's worried for her little sister, and she's all worked up, and then like I'm feeling it, and then I'm like, okay, you know, uh, I have to ground myself first, because when I was listening to her, I was, you sort of feel that sense of urgency and the tension and the frustration, even when she's texting, and I had to actually catch my breath, and I actually had to breathe to calm myself down, to actually think as logically as I could what is the easiest way to help, in a practical way, to help the sister, because her sister couldn't, stop at a shopping mall and pick up food, because yeah, it's not possible. And I was just telling her, like, well, for your cat that's stuck, you might want to try and do a makeshift. And I said, if you can grab a box, if not a box, if you can sacrifice even a little suitcase, that would help. And then trying to grab some dirt from the soil outside just to put it inside the suitcase, because soil, to me, I was thinking like grounding, even though it's not the usual litter that the cat might be used to, but at least it's soil and grass, and you put it inside a container, to try and get the cat to ground. Even if they don't want to pee in it, at least they might feel better in it, so those were like those very ad hoc things that was coming into my head when I was trying to, like, talk about, oh, what could we do in a situation like that, But if I could rewind, because it wasn't possible to say it then because we were already in the car. But I mean, like for any parent, even myself, do you have an emergency go away bag? Do you have a first aid bag that you actually pack? We all might have a first aid kit for humans, but do you have a first aid kit for your animals? A lot of things we can share. Some things that might be easier, I'm not an expert in it, but you can check online or go to your pet shop or your vet and ask, like, how can I put together a first aid kit? The other thing is, and I think about this a lot because I stay in a high-rise building. I was telling Isla, and I stay on the 20th floor. And because I'm a rescuer and I do a lot of fostering, so it's a bit. I panic sometimes when I think too hard and too much my analyzer. I think like, what if there was a fire? How am I going to evacuate the animals? And I've got, well, currently I've got like 12 cats and 2 dogs. How can I get them away quickly? And this is something that we should try and do beforehand, and that is like actually take pictures of your own animal or animals, and have their name, and ideally if you have your medical record, your vaccination card or whatever, any medications they need, you actually have it in a folder, or if you're very high tech, put it on the cloud somewhere, or a USB stick, but these are like the practical things. Like in an emergency, I actually have pillowcases that I use on standby, to basically grab a cat and put the cat in. And then, because I was thinking like, how am I going to run out of my flat with so many animals? Because I was thinking, okay, my dogs I can leash, and well, recall not so bad with one. The other one's my friend's dog, but like I can tie them to me and clip them to me. It's not a problem. But with cats, it's like a cat carrier, a bag, these are the things. Don't be like me. If you're just a normal human being, pet owner, you probably only have like maybe 2 or 3 that you can handle. But yeah, I've actually thought like, how am I going to evacuate with so many animals? And I'm a raw feeder, and I was thinking like, if there was an emergency, I actually do have like freeze-dried raw food, and canned food, because I'm a community cat caregiver as well. So it's like, yeah, do you have an emergency bag to grab and go? And I wish I could have said this to my friend before the war, but obviously not. But this is something that when I think about what's going on right now, it's like, and I look at myself and my animals, like, what could I do, to make sure if there was an emergency, how can I help? So yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling. I'm just me being with so many animals at the moment. So when I think about Ukraine, and or any country, and I just think like, or a fire in a flat, how can I evacuate really really quickly? You know, yeah. So yeah, it's one of those things that I do think about on occasion. I do, and I actually do have like a stash, a bag, and I actually have like my animals pictures on my phone as well. Yeah, so it's like, collars, harnesses. I'm like thinking, crap, 13 cats. Does that mean I have to get 13 harnesses? But yeah. Yeah, so don't be like me. Don't take too many animals. But if you have, a few, this is something that will be on the practical side of things. Besides the energetics, I don't know.
Mm.
That's what I'm
No,
thinking.
it's a real valid, it's a real valid thing of, okay, how do we have, unless we're in the ego of it all, right, of the, see, like, I'm going to say a survival strategy here of the panic of, if we're kind of obsessing, oh, if there's a fire, there's a fire, there's a fire, but from a practical perspective, going, okay, well, I'm just going to trust that's not going to happen, but yeah, what would I do if there was? And we're actually really lucky in the UK. I have a dear friend, I call her Beanie Bean, but she's called Rachel Bean, that's why I call her Beanie Bean. But she is a veterinary nurse, but she teaches all over the country, animal first aid workshops, largely canine first aid workshops. But she also sells first aid kits for animals. So I actually do have one of those ready because she does them. So maybe she'll sell them overseas. Yeah, but there's always that. It's always the two, isn't it? It's kind of bringing the two together. So yeah, looking at the practical, physical, material side of life, and yeah, what is it that we can grab? What is it we can bring to hand? And just as you were talking there as well, what felt important to share as well is I feel like still the importance of the animals still being able to express themselves. So when there's a heightened states of distress, you're absolutely right. I mean, animals can. I mean, that's why we're noisy to wildlife, because even when we think we're being still and quiet, if our thoughts are going off, wild animals, it's such a loud vibration. Like our domestic animals are just kind of get used to it, and they're like, oh, the humans are going off on one again. But wild animals, it's just like, okay, you're trying to be silent in the wood, but what's this? Like, this is making so much noise. Like, we don't want to be around that. But allowing domestic animals that we're with to still express themselves. So there's going to be chaos, and it's almost the. If I was in that situation of okay, my cat hasn't kind of gone to the toilet in 7 days, because there's also then a risk of infection, like a serious risk of infection, right? And also like my animal, I'm fleeing, my animal hasn't gone to the toilet in days, or they're not eating, and that's making me even more stressed, and I'm really stressed. The reality, like, I mean, in a crisis, like, I mean, I've had dogs that have been injured. I've been in situations where, like, yeah, things have been quite scary with, and particularly with Tunkasila a few years ago, where she literally, she had an operation, and basically they thought she had pyometra, and she didn't, but something weird happened that when they removed the uterus because they thought she had pyometra, basically she just kept bleeding, and she bled for like 15 days. I mean, it put a massive clots in. We actually thought she went horrifically anemic, and it was a horrific time. But I was still just like, do you know what, but it's okay, like I'm at peace, and if you know I'm still doing everything, I'm supporting the way that I can, and there's an acceptance. But if I'm in, like, I'm literally fleeing for my life and the life of my animals, how calm would I be? I mean, right now sitting here, I'm like, oh, I'd still be calm. The reality is I probably wouldn't be. So my animals are picking up on that, but it's still important for them to express how they're feeling. So in the car, and there's the stress, and I'm trying to be calm, maybe I'm not going to be calm, and my dog is whining, like, be quiet, like, please be quiet, because I don't know what's going on, I'm stuck in a traffic jam, and you haven't gone to the toilet, and like, just shut up. It's just like, oh no, I honour you, sweetheart, I see you, sweetheart. Yeah, do you know what, just as I am stressed and I'm vocalising this way, you also get to express how you feel in your own way. And because sometimes we often deny that, and so I think in that situation, not that I, am grateful that I'm not in that situation, and hope I never will be. I guess the reality is, like, what will we do? I don't know. It's almost like when you watch a horror movie, right? And like, oh, this is what I would do. Until you're in that situation, you actually don't know what you're going to do. And that's the reality. So for me, it's like, again, I go back to what can we do? The brothers and sisters that are in it, because we are all one, we are all a collective, but not experiencing it, how we can as part of our daily practice, or make it our daily practice. If we don't do daily practice, it's almost like, do you know what, I am going to get up half an hour until, like, this war is over, which let's trust and hope and pray that it will be soon, but I'm going to make it. It's something that I can do. I can donate to these organisations, so I can do that, but how can I do more? Okay, I can't travel to Ukraine, I can't do this, I can't do that, but what I can do is, again, go back to the vibration of, wow, as my commitment, as my dedication, as my love, as my care, I'm going to get up half an hour early and go to bed half an hour later and do an hour's practice. I'm going to get up an hour earlier, make really seriously with intention. It is intention. It's not that we can be doing it in our pyjamas, we can be doing it in our bedroom, we don't have to be going out on a pilgrim, we don't have to be getting dressed and doing a huge song and chat. And I wake up half an hour earlier, an hour earlier, I have my breakfast, I'm having my breakfast, I'm eating now for everyone that is not able to get to the supermarket, is fleeing, it doesn't know what's going on, hasn't got a home. So I eat for them and I eat for the animals, and as I wash for them and I wash for the animals. And as I have my freedom and I go on my walk, I walk for them, I walk for the animals. And then before that or after that, I dedicate time. I would maybe dedicate, you know, I normally do half an hour where I would do reading, or half an hour where I'd be doing gaming, or half an hour where I would have a longer bath or whatever it may be. That half an hour becomes committed to compassion, love, that intention of that power of sending it over to people in Ukraine, in Russia, and all the other places that we are also not being told about, that are in similar suffering circumstances. And that's only from my perspective, right? I don't have that. I don't suppose any of us have the answers. That's just from my perspective. Of if I was in that situation, I'd like to, like, probably the ego, right? I'll be calm. I'd be as calm as a cucumber, of course, because I do all this work. Probably not. Like, if I've left my husband and my uncle and my dad and my brothers, at, like, if I'm, or I couldn't pick up all my animals, like I'm in a really small car, and I've got a dog that, like, we know with Tunkasila, like, she's reactive, like how she would, we don't know. So it's like, what can we do outside, and what can we do within that will be sent outside? Yeah.
You know, thanks to you, Isla, I've started to really like spend more time talking to my animals, um, and trying to hear them. You know, it's like I said, I'm a student. I'm not as evolved as her. I'm still learning, but I always, remember what you always say. We need to give them a chance to at least express themselves. And then I become a lot more self-aware of their body language, because now I take note, like really like looking at them, watching them. And well, I've got so many animals, so I try to like look at them as like human beings as well. Try to like, each one has their own quirks, you know and and every day is like, I try to talk to each one of them and talk to them. And like, when I have to do fostering and bring in a rescue, and I know that everyone's going to get, a bit tense and upset because there's a new sick animal coming in, and I explain to them like, look, this is going to happen. I know you guys are not going to be happy about it. Trust me, neither am I. It's very inconvenient, but we're doing this to help the animal. So I do try to be more conscious and develop a relationship with them, like every day, you know, every day on a daily basis. Even when I do my meditations and my blessings and my grounding, every day I include them in, into my prayers and routine as well. And sometimes, like, it's interesting when I do sit and meditate. Some cats will actually want to sit with me, and on my lap, literally, when I'm focusing, and I just realize that, okay, maybe that cat wants to help me, or it feels the need of the healing process, you know so yeah, every time you say something, I think about it, and then I try to apply it. And I find that, I don't know, I'm just very grateful to you, very thankful, because you've made me a lot more aware, a more conscious caregiver in that sense, you know to take care of them. And I try not to lose my temper so much with them. And I realize that if I'm losing my temper with them, it's probably me. There's something. It's actually like it's a mirror towards me. Because whenever, if I'm reacting to something, it's triggered by something. Okay, what? It's me. There's something about me that I'm trying to work through, and it's coming out, and I'm just hitting it at someone else. You know, so I'm always trying to catch myself. Like if I lose my temper, why? What triggered it? you know um so I don't know. I just hope that every day when we practice like this consciously, um if there was ever an emergency situation, doesn't have to be, like what's happening in Ukraine, or it just can be any emergency in your home, the daily practice will kick in, and will be less reactive and more responsive in that sense, you know.
Yeah, there is. I mean, there is an element, right? And I feel, well, I'm just going to share it anyway, because on a soul level, as I know, and I should also say, like, I'm also evolving, right? I'm not as evolved as many, many, many others that I also follow and look up to. I'm still on this journey, as we all are forever, I'm sure. But as a soul, then there's this intrigue, curiosity of like, why are we all here as souls having all the experiences that we are? Like, even in this moment of everything that's going on, like, wow, we now know there's this war that is happening, and you're in Singapore and I'm in the UK, and people are joining us from wherever they live as well, but we all agree to be here from a soul perspective. And so there's also, from that element, that our animals as individuals, as souls, also agreed to be having this experience with us. And I know I'll often share this with my clients, and really just kind of simplifying it now in terms of making it a client rather than a collective or a world or a country thing. But like a lot, it might be, even for example, let's take it as a country thing. Someone might have just said, I just left, like I just was so scared, or I didn't know how to take my animals, I just left, and I don't know if my animals are alive, I don't know where they're at, and I'm now gonna spend the rest of my life racked with guilt. Or it might be someone will come to me as a client and be like, I just feel really, really guilty, I don't know, like I had my animal put to sleep, and oh, did I leave it too long? Did I not leave it long enough? And I'm now carrying that guilt. Non-human animals, and this is what I love in what they teach us time and time and time again, if we all got back to that place of the wider conscious of living from the heart, right, which is where all non-human animals live, and this is where we should be living, which is what we can do, which is what I certainly do. Of my ego still is there, but it's very, very soft, and I'm very good at catching it. But non-human animals don't have limiting belief systems. They don't have limiting doubts. They don't have judgment. They don't have ego. They don't have you're right, I'm wrong, shame, blame, or anything like that. But as a soul, they also agreed to be sharing what is happening at whatever level. As a soul, they agreed to have this journey with us. So even when it is about the animal being left, the animal being abandoned, that animal not having a great time right now, or even in that perspective, like, oh, did I do it too soon? Did I do it not soon enough? There's also, it's like, yes, we are souls. Of course, we're just a soul in a physical body, but everything is a soul. Everything that exists right now is first and foremost a soul in that physical body. So as a soul journey, the way that our animals come to us in that coexistence in the way that they are, in the places that they are, is also because they have come as a soul to have that experience. And then going back to what you said, is mirroring, is absolutely whenever we feel and emit from that feeling a heavy emotional charge, right, a dense emotional charge, a dense emotional vibration, that is absolutely an absolute trigger. It's an absolute reflection to go, this is not even about this event right now. The event is irrelevant. It's, hang on, where is this actually coming from? What is this here to teach me? And so in those moments, again, it takes me back to, as a child, if I wasn't just asked, like, does this feel right for you? How do you want to respond to this? What is it that you want to say? What is it that you want to do? How do you want, like, this is a situation. That can really create this frustration. And so the same thing can happen with our animals if we don't give them that choice, if we don't explain to them. And even in that situation, it might be, right, okay, there is a fire in the apartment block, I'm trying to grab all my animals and flee. Well, if the animal chooses to go, do you know what, I'm going to sit right on the top of a cupboard somewhere so you can't get me, it's like, there's an element of, like, the animals can still get to choose of what freedom they want. Are they going to run off? Are they going to run away? Having that kind of deeper, the word that's coming through is acceptance of. It's almost, I shared yesterday in my journeying group that like Tunkasila, my dear absolute heart dog Tunkasila, she's not going to be with me for much longer. So we're just going through that journey, that process. So my soul is at peace. I am blessed. I'm accepting. My soul is at peace. But by goodness, does my physical body want to cry? So I'm honoring that. So it's this weird. It's like this. I'm feeling into the difference of like, wow. On one level, I'm just like, yeah, her time's coming, and we're gonna do an honoring and a holding, and when her time comes, it'll be perfect for her, and her soul will choose that. So yeah, I'm at peace with that. I'm accepting. Like I'm accepting this is what her soul has chosen. But my physical body is feeling the need to mourn, to grieve, to cry. I'm also going to honor that. So I'm allowing myself to express and experience how I want to express and experience, as is she. But in that moment where, yeah, whenever an animal is making us feel stressed, frustrated, aggravated, impatient, whatever, placing expectation on whatever it is that reflection. And that's again, really, I go back to if we all made peace of the war within us, then war would cease to exist. Because everything without of us is a reflection of within, right? So even on a collective scale, because we hold so much anger, and that's why even what's happening now, I mean, even with my parents that are watching the news, like, bloody bastard, bloody ridiculous, blah, 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 I'm like that. You're so full of anger. Like, I'm like, please, can you stop being angry? Like, I understand on one level why that, like, I understand it's like immoral in so many ways, but to hold that, like, change that immorality to love, to compassion, to wow, for all those that are so angry and claiming that power from this kind of patriarchal, colonized, like, I have the power to do whatever I want. It's because they have so much pain. They have so much pain, and I'm not excusing it. I'm not trying to make it sound simple, but again, if we are sending anger out towards something because it's not right, the vibration is not, it's not right. The vibration is, I am angry and I'm sending that anger out. Whereas the reflection can be, okay, well, where is that anger coming from within? So I always go back to if we can, and we can, and that's also for me, like, I am here to create a conscious and spiritual community for the animal industry. Like, so many of us need it in so many industries. That's kind of why I'm here for the animal industry. But if we made peace, if we really could, and we can, like, I've done it, like, I'm still working through it, but Ambrose will tell you I used to be in a very, very different place. But if each and every one of the humankind, because this is where, because we have the ego, we have the two minds, right? We have the rational mind and the intuitive mind. Non-human animals just have the intuitive mind. So if we all return back to that intuitive mind, stop making it about ourselves, had acceptance, have had compassion and love for ourselves, which then that goes out of us. But we made peace with the war within us, then war without would cease to exist. And again, that's just from my perspective. That's just from how I see the world and how I work.
Wow, I'm so thankful and grateful that you took the time to listen to this podcast. It would mean the world to me if you could subscribe, download, rate, review, and share this with others whom you care about that may enjoy it as well. Thank you, and remember to be kind to yourself and others. Have a awesome day, everyone.